And of course, with some colleagues you've developed, well, I can see your banner in the background and it looks fantastic. So thank you for having that with us. Can you remind me of the name of your company and say some things about that?
It's the Irish Online Counselling and Psychotherapy Service. And myself and my colleague Tanika Monk, we set it up back in July 2011. And I suppose we came about not because of a business plan or not because we wanted to do it. It was client-led. Actually, clients came looking for the service, and we felt that actually we needed to put something in place to provide a service for people who were not being met where they were.
Yeah, so clients were not able to access counselling and psychotherapy in terms of like their geography and...
Well, because of geography, because of anxiety, it came about. I had began volunteering on a suicide prevention page, going back in maybe 2009, 2010. And from there, I was just a volunteer. I wasn't working as a therapist, just as a support. And there were people coming in with all sorts of issues, and anxiety was so big, that they weren't able to pick up a telephone, to make a phone call, to ring a GP, or to do anything. So there, social anxiety was really, really high, and we began to see that actually they weren't being met. And from there, then I suppose, as we were working away, one of the people that used the service came on to me and was in quite a distressed state. She actually was bedbound. She was in her room. She didn't leave her room. She was with psychiatric services, and electric shock treatment was going to be her next port of call, and she was desperate and asked would I be her therapist, which I flatly refused, because I had no interest in online therapy and didn't believe it could work. And, so that's how it began, but she pursued. So we agreed to work together. So I suppose it was taking a risk, something I had never done, but I felt we had nothing to lose. She was going for electric shock treatment. So we set up, I suppose I set it up exactly the same way I'd set up my private practice. So it was 1 hour a week. She would make connection with me. So we worked together for about 2 years. Absolutely zero money changed hands in them 2 years. I felt that I was doing this for the person, and that actually I wasn't trained to be an online psychotherapist. I didn't know whether it worked. So we were both taking a risk, I suppose. And we both walked that journey, and I suppose I was blown away by the transformation. I suppose she worked really hard in the work, and I suppose I worked also. And that was the tapping into all the other senses, that maybe weren't as available, that I had to use more of other senses, as I didn't have the visual, very close visual. We had started off in typing, in instant messaging, and we moved then very slowly onto telephone. And I remember very clearly in the telephone, it was only maybe a couple of years later, she described how she worked on the telephone with me. And we both worked in the same way. We both had our eyes closed during the session. And I could feel myself in the room with her. It was amazing, I suppose, to have that feeling of being, this lady was in another country completely, and it felt like we were right beside each other, just as I would with a person sitting in the room.